Hey yo, um, a little bit of a different background. I'm on a little family visiting trip, and I'm sure there's a lot of noise in the background, so excuse that. Um, whew, so yeah, so I'm visiting family, and so I've gained some insight. I think is a good way of saying it towards you know okay. So all of us want more. Most of us, the majority of people, I would say, want more than what they already have, naturally. But not everybody can do that. If anything, you could argue very few. Cool. All right. So I have an uncle here in Honduras, and I am staying at his place. And like right now, for example, I'm on top of his water tower. And my uncle, he's a very successful businessman. He's done a lot of great stuff. Now, something about my uncle that I've never really known is his story. Like, in all honesty, I didn't really know a whole lot about him as a person in general. I just knew he was my uncle, that he had a successful business, and that, he was well respected. That's pretty much the gist of what I knew, in essence. Okay. Alright, cool. So, I, I've always, as many of us, wanted more in life, out of life, so forth and so forth. And I do believe that in order to have more, you need to do more. In order to do more, you need to be more. So I believe you need to become a certain type of person to be able to do the specific type of things that one needs to do to have whatever it is that they might want to have. So now I have a cousin that I'm very fond of. And the person I am now and am becoming, because I'm always trying to become more than what I am, is very different than who I was, very different than who I was 5 years ago. And the reason I specify 5 years ago is because that was the last time that I got to see this specific cousin I'm referring to, and the majority of my family in general. I haven't been able to visit my home country, Honduras, in just a little over 5 years now. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So I told my uncle before I came, I said to him, hey, look, I am, I told him what I pretty much just said, that I want to become the person to be able to do the things to have what I want, in essence. And I asked him if he would be willing to give me his time, because time is the most valuable thing that we have. So I asked him, would you be willing to give me your time so that I can ask you questions, pick your brain, and better understand who you are, so that I may use that newfound understanding to my advantage to become the person, and so forth and so forth. And he said yes, cool, of course. And so and so we talked. And here's something that I and to make this short, here was the key thing that I came to realize. I'll give you a very short synopsis of his story. When he was in like around the age of between 8 and 10, he said, right? So he was, he slacked off. He didn't go to class and stuff like that. He wanted to hang out with his friends and so forth and so forth. And then, his mom found out, and so his mom decided to take him to live with his uncle and his grandpa. Now, his uncle and his grandpa were more stern. They did not, hey, you do what I say or else ordeal, right? All right. So he, even if he wanted to do, not slack off, not do what he was supposed to do, there was serious consequences, which he obviously at his age did not want to deal with. Fair enough. And so at a young age, between the age of 8 and 10, he learned discipline. He also learned routines. He had to gain a routine, because what happened was, I don't recall if his uncles told him this or if he just came to this realization on his own, but he understood that he needed to provide for himself. And so he also understood that he needed to continue his education. So what he would do was, when he would go to school, and then when he's not in school, he would work. I'm trying to remember the specifics, not too many specifics, but yeah, I believe he just kind of did like a little, like house jobs or side jobs for his family, for his uncle and his grandpa, things like that. Okay. Now, at the age of, I believe it was 14, was when he started working for like a legitimate employer. And at that age, he wasn't supposed to work. Like they don't usually allow 14-year-olds to just work like full-time employment type jobs or whatever. But he had to do a couple of things, and it was dependent upon his grades and stuff. And because he had really good grades, the employer and government or whatever were like, yeah, sure, fine, okay, cool. And so really, I think it was then. So at the age of 14, let's say, was when he really understood. He already understood discipline. He already understood accountability. And now I believe is when he really was understanding routine, work, school, because he was still studying, work, school, and he even said that he would make time when he could to live a normal life, go out with friends, but to not let that hinder his progress. All right, cool. And so he worked at this company, which is like it's called a ferreteria, which is like a Home Depot ordeal type of thing. And so he started at 14 and he worked there, I believe, 13 years. I believe he quit. He stopped working there at the age of 27. And at the age of 27, because he had been there so long, and he started from the bottom up. He started as a salesperson, went up into management, did different things. He did a bunch of stuff in all those years for this company. So what he did was, at the age of 27, is he started his own company. And now he started very small. What he did was he rented out a space. He had 2 employees. He had 2 other people that he was acquainted with, that knew well, and who he trusted to some extent. And he had very basic why can't I think of the word? It's brain fart, whatever. He had like just a few of, why can't I think of the word? Anyways, like the products to sell, or inventory. Jeez. Anyways, he had very few, just the basics, but the inventory that he understood from his experience were the most popular, most likely to sell. Right? Okay, great. And he was able to do that, or understand that, because of his experience and his time doing what he did. From there, he expanded, and now he owns, I believe, if not the top, one of the top 2 ferreterias in all of the country, of all of Honduras. Cool. So he's doing great. Wonderful. Now, why the main reason I want to give all that context is because of this. Here's what I understood from that. I understood that he was blessed, I would argue, to have been not necessarily forced. To some extent, you can argue that, but you could say obligated to learn these disciplines very early on. Technically from the age of, 10, let's call it. started learning these disciplines. At the age of 14, he really started like implementing them very, assertively, let's say. And then at the age of 27, he started his own business. And by the age of 30, he was already, so at 3 years into the business, he was successful enough to have built his own home, which is the one I'm in right now. Cool. Why is that relevant? Okay, so I'm going to use me, and then I'm going to talk to my cousin, and then I'll finish off. So, I have always desired and had a drive within me to want to success. And success, but my definition of success before used to be having lots of money, being able to have what I want without having to worry about, money or problems or blah, 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 blah. Which an aspect of that still applies. However, now truly my definition of success is more just being able to serve people. Because that's how you make money anyways. You offer a service or a product or some value to other people, and those other people pay you for that service, value, whatever it may be. That's how that works. Okay. And so I've always wanted that. But I didn't understand or even think about the fact that to have these things, or to have a good chance of having these things, as I said, you need to be a certain type of person and do certain type of things to have the things you want. I used to think, well, because whatever, social media, blah, 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 blah. Oh, you don't really have to do much. It's so easy. It'll just happen because God loves me, blah, blah, blah. And he does, but that's not how that works. God's not just going to give people who don't do anything abundance. I mean, potentially he may, but it's not going to work out for you. People who win the lottery and aren't the person that they need to be in order to use the new gained abundance in a way that's going to serve them serve them well and long term. What usually happens, they die, they lose their money within a year or two, and then they go down a hole. Right? Usually. Why? Because they didn't become the person and do the things to be able to maintain that newfound wealth. Cool. So what I was saying is, though, I've always wanted these things, but only recently, and by recently I would say when I started my financial advising career, which that was 2023. So for about 2 years. 2 years now. A little over, I believe. Yeah, a little over 2 years now. Have I really delved into this whole, like just staying focused and going, again, becoming the person, doing the things so that when I have what I need, what I want to have, I can maintain it and use it appropriately, right? Now, what I'm getting with that is this. My uncle started young, 10 years of age. And by the time he, was a successful businessman, he was, let's call it 28, because his first year of business he did okay, but so let's just say 28. So 10 years, 28. That's 18 years. So it took my uncle 18 years of discipline, 18 years of focus, 18 years of drive to have what he currently has. And he's growing. He's a very smart man and a very respected man. He's done a great job. And an admirable man, to me at the very least, and I know to others. So, okay, cool. There's that. And as I mentioned, for me, it's been 2 years. I'm nowhere near to where he is. And nowhere near to where I want to be. Yet. So, my cousin. I'm very fond of my cousin. I have a lot of cousins, but he's a cousin that I've had a lot of fond memories in the past and such, and I still, yeah. But here's what I understood when I got with him. Again, it's been a little over 5 years since the last time I saw him, and 5 years ago I was not who I am today, not even close. And so, here's, to make it somewhat short, the point to get to the point that I want to make. Me being blessed by the Lord to have gained the opportunity to attempt and become a financial advisor, and in doing so gaining the newfound knowledge and understanding that I've gained to be able to get me to where I am now and to where I'm going to be. I came to understand something during this trip with having that conversation with my uncle and hanging out with my cousin. Which is this. Again, I mentioned that we all want more. The majority of us. Maybe not all of us, but whatever. The majority of us want more. And that's okay. That's how we're designed. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. But so many of us just stay in a mentality, in a path, in a way of life or way of thinking that is, I will say, less likely to give us what we want, less likely to serve us at the highest possible value. So when I hung out with my cousin, here's what I understood in short. I understood that he's still stuck in where I was 5 years ago. To him, and I don't want to call him out per se, because he's doing pretty good. He's doing all right. But I mean, if he were to tell me, and we didn't have this conversation, but if he were to tell me, all I want is all right, cool. And he can live with that, be happy with that, be fulfilled with that, cool, wonderful. I'm okay with that. I am. But if he were to start saying, it's not great being this way, I wish I had more, this and that and this, a different story. So, but to him, things like, because I was telling him, I don't watch TV. I don't care to watch TV because it's a distraction. It's not helping me move forward to where I want to be. I don't drink that much anymore. If I drink, I don't drink alone, and I don't drink beer. The beer thing is because of my health. It's not like I'm gonna die, but I like feeling and looking fit, and beer makes you feel and look not fit. That's how that works. Carbs, baby. And all I usually drink is tequila because I love tequila, and that's it. And again, only on certain occasions, or if I'm with somebody and they're drinking with me. Cool. Marijuana. Weed. I used to be a big stoner. I'm not anymore. Do I still do it? Yes I do. Now I've put restrictions on myself because again, my restrictions are I don't ever buy it, I will not purchase it, and I will never carry it with me. So if somebody says, hey, you want to take some with you? I say no. And if they insist, I tell them. If I take that, I will throw it away because I don't want to have it on me. Why? Well, because I understand fully now that, again, everybody's different. Okay, so this is for me, that when I'm high, when I smoke marijuana, I'm not as efficient as I am not high. That's just how it is for me. And so I don't like that. It doesn't move me forward. If anything, it holds me back a little. So if I have it with me, I will use it when I shouldn't. And I don't like that. So that's why I don't keep it with me. Because I just rather no. I don't want the temptation. And so we were talking, me and my cousin, about those details because I was telling him about how I am now because again, 5 years ago I was not at all who I am now. And in essence, what I came to understand was that I could tell that he didn't really understand. Like maybe it was not so that he didn't understand, but he just didn't agree or understand my newfound way of life. Cool, that's fine. But I will say this, and this is kind of the point I want to make. Again, we all think that it's easy, that we'll get lucky, we'll win the lottery, this and that and this, whatever. Here's what I'm coming to understand, but will really be able to fully understand as time passes and I'm able to speak from experience. Because right now I'm not speaking from experience, which is when you become the person, or as you become the person, because you have to put effort into becoming. My cousin is not doing that. That's fine. I am, and I have a long way to go. I'm only 2 years in. That's very short. But what I have been able to observe and have come to believe and will come to be able to confidently state as time passes is that as you become the person, those in the world who are already those people will see that. They know it. They understand it. Because we all start in a place of, not caring, indiscipline, just, all of us. Maybe not all of us, but the majority of us. And so when people can tell, I've experienced it to some extent too, where people look at me and the way I speak, the way I hold myself, and the way I think, they can see that and they can determine for themselves, this is a person that I could either invest my time into, invest effort into, invest finances into, what have you. But they're only going to do that if they feel confident in the fact that you are becoming the person who is worth investing into. So here's the point I would like to make, in essence. With all of that being said, here's my advice. Take it or leave it. If you want more in life, whatever that may be, relationships, finances, material, whatever, it doesn't matter, whatever it is. If you want more in life and you just choose to believe that it's just going to happen, I wish you the best of luck. It might. And if it does, again, I wish you the best of luck. Now, my advice would be instead to give yourself a more winning chance, long-term success chance of having the want and all that. Change your perspective. My cousin's perspective is, what I'm doing is okay. What I'm doing satisfies me. I mean, he was saying that, I just love weed. I love being high. I love, being in this space. Cool. But in that perspective, I believe it's not going to get him very far. And also, here's the other reason why I say becoming the person, because I'm able to observe the people he's around, and as far as I can tell, those individuals are individuals who, unfortunately, like him right now, I would say don't have as high of a chance in gaining great abundance currently. That can change, because 5 years ago, I was one of those people where I would have looked at myself and been like, yeah, good luck, buddy, good luck. So, but me having changed, I look at the people around me now comparatively to the people around me 5 years ago, and I can tell that those people are different. They're in a different path, let's call it. Cool. So, my word of advice is change your perspective. Find other ways of thinking, ways of living, individuals who maybe you don't necessarily agree with. Maybe you don't agree with. Maybe you might even hate. But they're doing something you're not doing, and they have something you don't have. So they're doing that in some way or another. Now, if they have those things in ways that are harming people, yeah, I wouldn't do that. Sure, it's working for them for now, not for very long, I believe. And even if they die rich and wealthy and all that, when you talk to your creator, good luck. If you don't believe in that, whatever. Good luck. And so, change your perspective. Gain newfound understandings from different types of people, even people you may not like. Become a person who is capable, willing, and driven to do the things that you need to do. Because if you're not that person, you won't do them. If you're not the person that my uncle had to become at the age of 10, he wouldn't do the things he needed to do at the age of 14. If I'm not the person that I am becoming today and tomorrow and every other day moving forward, I won't be able to do the things that I know I need to do, that I am doing and will continue to do moving forward. And then as I do that, as you do that, as you become the person who is able and willing to do the things that you need to do, and as you do those things for likely a long time, doesn't come quick. More for many, I would say. I know for some it does, because everything is perfect in God's time. So if God ordains that you get everything you want in 3 years from the moment you start being driven, focus-minded, and all that, congratulations, that's awesome. That's wonderful, truly. But like my uncle, it may be 18 years. Me, I don't know. I'm 2 years in, definitely nowhere near where I want to be. Nowhere near. But in God's time. All I know is I need to continue to focus on becoming more and doing more, so that when the time comes, when God ordains for me to have more, that I'm ready to have it, that I'm able to maintain it, and I'm able to utilize the abundance and the more in a way that pleases God and serves people ultimately. So, anyways, hopefully this was useful. And yeah, God bless.